being a member of the ODAC, it was important that we were in unison with our conference colleagues and making a decision to postpone the fall sports into the spring of 2021. It's not an easy decision. It's not the decision I wanted to make, or I think any of us want. I know our student athletes want to compete, our coaches want to compete. But at the end of the day, we need to do what's in the best interest of our student athletes and keeping them safe, and not just them, but keeping our coaches safe, our administrators safe, the campus community, the students that aren't varsity athletes, our faculty, and especially the members of the Franklin County community that our student athletes and students on campus interact with on a regular basis. Technically, all the sports will be impacted in probably one way, shape, or form. Obviously, the fall sports, our traditional fall sports, are the ones that are going to take the brunt of this. Obviously, our football, field hockey, soccer's, volleyball, cross countries, equestrian, golfs. The regular seasons have been impacted. We'll move those to the spring and have every intention of putting some sort of regular season together for them and hopefully a championship opportunity. We'll see what the NCAA decides to do with the championships for those sports. Our winter sports, basketball, swimmings, wrestlings, they're going to be impacted because their regular season won't start until after January 1st. Obviously, wrestling's not in the ODAC, men's and women's wrestling, but we will still have that same parameters around them. And then the spring, as of right now, there's no impact to their season. What gets impacted is their non-traditional season. But I think that if things go the way we think they possibly could with the NCAA and some possible waivers that might be going on, they might have some more expanded opportunities. And quite frankly, the off seasons for all of our sports might be a little more than what we're used to in Division III. So I'm excited and encouraged about that. I'm not excited and encouraged that we had to change the seasons around, but I think having these opportunities in the fall for all of our student athletes, that can be a real positive, and that can really help us build team camaraderie, build a good team culture, and get us ready for the ODAC seasons when they all start in the spring. The social resocialization of sport that was put out by the NCAA was a tremendous document. I'm really appreciative of Dr. Hainline and the team there at the NCAA for the guidance that they've provided, and that really was what was setting us along a course to bring everyone back in August for preseason. What changed was the testing parameters that were put around high contact and medium contact sports. And at the end of the day, those really, I think for me, I can say for me, I don't want to speak for our other colleagues in the ODAC, but for me, that was the kind of straw that broke the camel's back in terms of what we were going to be able to do safely and adequately. And I never want to be in a position as the athletic director to be putting our students in harm's way or putting them in a position where they're not as safe as they possibly can be, especially in those sports that have high level of contact, not just with each other, but when they're competing against another program. I think practices and strength and conditioning and training will look slightly different. Obviously, as I alluded to in the last question, we talked about the resocialization of sport. There's some parameters that we need to meet. We might see a lot more small group work early on as we ease into it, but as we get more comfortable and we're feeling like we're in a safe space, bigger group activities, more team opportunities, hopefully at some point we can get to a point where we're doing inter-squad scrimmages for the teams that do that. And so that they can get as game ready as humanly possible when we start up after January 1st. So it'll look different. We're going to have to be intentional in how we schedule practices. We're not used to every single team having opportunities to practice at one time. There will be start dates for some of the different seasons, but there will be a time during the year that all three seasons, which means all 27 of our varsity sports, will have an opportunity to compete. And so we're going to have to be very intentional and protective of our athletic training staff and making sure that they can handle the volume. Obviously, facilities, we'll have to schedule those out in a unique and equitable way. Same thing with the weight room. So utilizing everything we have and looking into options around campus that might be creative and useful to everyone so that we all can have as normal of a possible season in terms of practicing and getting ready for the 2021 spring. Yeah, schedules for the fall sports in the spring. I'm hopefully that those will get announced sometime September, October. I hate putting a time frame on it, but I can tell you the ODAC athletic directors is a small subgroup that I have the privilege of serving on. We're going to start having conversations in the next week and a half or so. So we know we need to move on that. We're trying to be, again, really intentional. We know where there's going to be 3 seasons going on at the same time, and that puts a burden on a number of all of us as members of the ODAC. However, that's a burden we're all willing to take because it's worth it for us to provide that experience for our student athletes. But I'll hopefully by September, October, we'll have some clarity around that. We obviously have to start scheduling. A lot of schools have shared facilities, whether it's their turf field or their gymnasium or whatnot. So there'll be a lot of logistical hoops that we all 15 of us are going to have to figure out. So hopefully by then we'll have some more news on when the schedules will be. The simple answer is no. We're not competing in any contest, therefore no clock starts on the eligibility. So all of our practices and workouts will not trigger any eligibility until after the January 1st, and once we play our first game, then the eligibility triggers just like it would if we had in the fall. So and that's encouraging news. I think it's great for our students. It allows them to make the decisions that's best for them. But at the end of the day, coming back here and practicing and getting better with their teammates, I mean, this is almost like a free off season that the Division III doesn't generally provide. So I'm really excited that we'll have to do that. And hey, look, I won't have any games to watch, but I'll be excited to watch some practices this year. I'm just excited for all of our student athletes to get back here and our coaches to do what they love to do, our athletic trainers do what they love to do, all of us as administrators, sports information, everyone doing the things that we love as well. So, I'm looking forward to it.